Imagine this. It's 1922, and archaeologist Howard Carter is basically Indiana Jones, but with less whip cracking and more dust. He cracks open a tomb in Egypt, and bam! It's Tutankhamun's crib, untouched for 3,000 years. Gold everywhere, fancy artifacts, and a mummy just chilling. Jackpot, right? But wait, there's a twist. Soon after, people who were at the tomb's opening start dropping like flies. 13 of them, to be exact. Cue the dramatic music and the whispers of the curse of the pharaohs. Was it ancient magic, bad luck, or just really bad timing? Spoiler, we still don't know. So grab your popcorn because Tutankhamun's story is equal parts history, mystery, and a dash of what on earth happened here. Want more wild tales from the past? Subscribe, and let's dig into history together. Picture this. Howard Carter and Lord Carnarvon, two dudes with big dreams, crack open Tutankhamun's tomb in 1922, expecting a pharaoh's palace. Instead, they find what looks like a cluttered storage unit. Seriously, this tomb was not what you'd call spacious. It was more like, oops, we ran out of room in the Valley of the Kings, so let's just stick them over here. And the stuff inside? Total hand-me-down energy. Tutankhamun's golden coffins were like nesting dolls, but the middle one was clearly borrowed. Its face didn't match the others, and it definitely didn't look like Tut. Archaeologists think it was meant for someone named Nefer-Nefer-Uaten. Try saying that 5 times fast. A mysterious figure who probably never got to use it. Oh, and let's not forget the toes. Yep, someone hacked off part of the coffin's toes to make it fit. Ancient Egyptian DIY at its finest. So what's the deal? Why was Tutankhamun buried like he was in a rush? Was it a royal mix-up, or did someone just not care? Either way, this tomb was the archaeological equivalent of a last-minute group project. Alright, let's talk about Tutankhamun's mummy. Spoiler alert, it's a hot mess. When archaeologists unwrapped him, they were probably like, did someone forget how to mummify a pharaoh? First off, Tut's heart is missing. Not misplaced, not stolen, just gone. And in ancient Egypt, that's a big deal. The heart was basically your afterlife ID, and Tut's was replaced with a handful of scarab beetle amulets. Then there's the mummy itself. Instead of the usual neat and tidy wrapping job, Tut's body had a giant, jagged cut from his hip to his belly button. It's like the embalmers were in a hurry and just went, good enough. Oh, and let's not forget the broken leg. Tut had a club foot, so he walked with a cane. He had over 350 of them in his tomb. Talk about overpacking. But some think he took a nasty spill from a chariot, which might have been the final straw for the poor guy. So to sum up, Tutankhamun's mummy is missing a heart, has a DIY incision, and a broken leg. It's less majestic pharaoh and more bad day at the office. Alright, let's talk about how Tutankhamun died. Spoiler, it's complicated. Like really complicated. First, the dude had some serious family drama. His parents were probably siblings, yikes, which left him with a clubfoot, a weak immune system, and bones more fragile than a house of cards. He basically spent his life limping around with a cane, which, by the way, he had 350 of in his tomb. Overkill much? Now here's where it gets wild. Tut loved chariot rides. Yes, the guy with the bad foot and brittle bones thought it was a great idea to race around in a wooden death trap. Some experts think he took a nasty fall, broke his leg, and maybe even got run over. Ouch. But wait, there's more. His heart is missing. Not lost in the couch cushions missing, but crushed beyond recognition missing. If the chariot theory is true, it might have squished his heart, which would explain why the embalmers had to improvise with some scarab beetles. So, to recap, Tutankhamun was a sickly inbred teenager who probably died in a chariot crash. His death was so sudden that his burial was basically a last-minute scramble. It's like ancient Egypt's version of a soap opera. Okay, buckle up, because this is where Tutankhamun's story gets really weird. Scientists discovered that his mummy was on fire. Yes, you read that right. A 3,000-year-old mummy spontaneously combusted. How does that even happen? Turns out, the ancient embalmers went a little overboard with the oils and resins. They basically drenched Tut's body in flammable goo, sealed him in a coffin, and called it a day. Fast forward a few millennia, and those oils decided to throw a chemistry party. The result? A slow, smoldering fire that roasted poor Tut from the inside out. Now, before you start imagining ancient Egyptians with matches, let's be clear, this wasn't arson. It was a freak accident caused by too much embalming juice and not enough ventilation. Think of it as the world's most awkward BBQ. So, Tutankhamun's mummy wasn't just poorly preserved, it was also on fire. Alright, let's talk about the curse of the pharaohs. Because apparently opening Tutankhamun's tomb was like poking a sleeping bear. After the tomb was cracked open in 1922, people started dropping like flies. Lord Carnarvon, the money guy behind the excavation, died just a few months later from an infected mosquito bite. Seriously, a mosquito. Then his brother, Audrey Herbert, passed away. The radiologist who x-rayed the mummy, gone. Even Prince Ali Camel Fahmy Bey of Egypt, who visited the tomb, was shot by his wife. The media went wild. Newspapers claimed the curse was real and people ate it up. It was the 1920s version of a viral conspiracy theory. But here's the thing. Most of these people were already old or sick. The average age of the cursed was 74.5, which, let's be real, isn't exactly shocking. And Howard Carter, the guy who actually opened the tomb and should have been curse victim numero uno, lived another 16 years and died of natural causes. So much for the curse, right? Oh, and here's the kicker. Ancient Egyptians didn't even have a concept of curses on tombs. The whole curse thing was basically tabloid gossip that got way out of hand. Sure, they believed in protecting the dead, but they weren't out here hexing people like a bunch of ancient wizards. So, was it a curse? Probably not. Was it a great story to sell newspapers and keep people talking about Tutankhamun for decades? Absolutely. The curse might be fake, but its staying power is real. Let's wrap this up with Tutankhamun's legacy because, honestly, this guy's story is like a Netflix series that just keeps getting wilder. He was a teenage pharaoh with a clubfoot, a weak immune system, and a love for chariot rides, which, let's be real, was a terrible idea. He died young, was buried in a tomb that looked like a storage unit, and his mummy was so poorly preserved it caught on fire. And yet, here we are, still talking about him over 3,000 years later. Tutankhamun's tomb was like the ultimate time capsule. It was packed with gold, artifacts, and enough walking canes to open a mobility aid store. But it wasn't just the treasure that made him famous. It was the mystery. Why was his tomb so small and messy? Why was his mummy missing a heart? And how did he even die? Was it a chariot crash, malaria, or something else entirely? We still don't know. And that's what makes him so fascinating. Then there's the curse. Sure, it was probably just a bunch of coincidences and tabloid gossip, but it added a layer of drama that Hollywood would kill for. The idea that opening his tomb could bring bad luck? Pure gold? It's like the ancient Egyptian version of a horror movie, and we can't get enough of it. But here's the thing. Tutankhamun's story isn't just about gold and curses. It's also about humanity. He was a kid who inherited a messed up family tree, ruled a kingdom, and died too soon. His life was far from perfect, and his death was even messier. But somehow, that makes him more relatable. He's not just a pharaoh. He's a reminder that even the most powerful people in history had their struggles. And let's not forget the humor in all of this. I mean, his mummy caught on fire. That's the kind of absurd detail you'd expect from a slapstick comedy, not ancient history. Imagine a movie where Tutankhamun is the main character, stumbling through life with his canes, falling off chariots, and accidentally setting himself on fire in the afterlife. It's like Mr. Bean meets the mummy, and honestly, I'd watch it. So, what's Tutankhamun's legacy? He's a symbol of ancient Egypt's grandeur, a mystery that keeps historians guessing, and a reminder that even pharaohs had bad days. His story is equal parts tragic, hilarious, and endlessly fascinating, and that's why, thousands of years later, we're still obsessed with the boy king. Thanks for joining this wild ride through Tutankhamun's life and legacy. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe for more hilarious and fascinating tales from history. Because let's face it, history is way weirder and funnier than you think.